What's going on, guys? This is Empty Box, and it's time to talk about the Formula USA, Racing USA, Automobilista 2 DLC, whatever the heck this is called. The oval racing experience within Automobilista 2 with the Formula USA, otherwise known as 1995 Indy cars, 1998 Champ cars, or 2000 Champ cars. In this video, I'm going to be showing clips from the various content that is available through all the DLC packs. It's all kind of piecemealed. You can look at it on the Steam page if you haven't already. I will be using skin packs throughout this video to add in the real-world deliveries. They're available on Race Department. Highly recommended because you should have those. Haven't really driven in these cars on the road courses, so not even talking on that, not even touching on that. Nothing I say here is saying anything about the cars on the road courses because I've literally done about 10 laps with the 1995 cars at Road America, and then I might... Let's go try oval racing, because that's a new thing that's being added here to Automobilista 2 with this DLC. So how does it fare? Long story short, not well. First of all, from the driving aspect, these cars are just positively ridiculous. All of them that I've tried out on the larger ovals, Indianapolis, Fontana, here in the DLC, just drive in a hilarious fashion where you're dirt tracking the car. You can drive the things entirely sideways, and it's not a problem in the world, not a care in the world. The car will never over-rotate. If you get too much yaw in the car, too much slip, it'll just straighten right back up. Not a problem. You don't need to worry about it, which makes this so incredibly unentertaining and boring because there is no drama. You know, even when you're full on entirely sideways through the corner, you know that you're going to save the car because it's super glued to the ground and borderline impossible to spin. I very well could be entirely wrong here, but it feels like to me the main culprit here is aerodynamics. This really reminds me of the discussions that you've heard with NASCAR, with the Cup Series, whenever the word side force has been one of the driving forces of discussion over there. And that is, you know, as the car gets more sideways, the car generates more side force, basically downforce with the side of the car, and therefore it just kind of straightens back up. There's like the hand of God to keep you from over-rotating. It's that type of experience, but in these cars, like, it doesn't make sense at all. I don't know why this is a thing. I could very well be wrong, but it really feels like every single one of these cars had a vertical stabilizer off of an Airbus A380 attached to it, because as soon as that car starts to rotate, and you can get the thing to rotate perfectly fine, and it'll spin like a top, but then it hits a certain point where it's just like, nope, we're good. And it just straightens you right back up, puts you right back on the right path, which is just one of the most bizarre feelings around, which really just makes this not a very fun experience. I'll also go ahead and mention, once again, the default setups are... why? They're default settings, basically. Personally, the default setups for these cars, I would never go ahead and use at all. I did just one little test run with them, and then it was very clear, oh hey, this car is very slow. I'm not even able to do the corners at Indianapolis in the 95 cars, like, above 200 miles an hour because this thing just pushes like a dump truck. Huh. So, of course, you do what you do. You lower the car down to the absolute minimum because the thing won't scrape. You go ahead and add in a bunch of spring rate to the right rear. You add a little bit more air pressure to the right rear tire. Add some weight jacker. Change the gear ratios. You know, just start with making the final drive 2 clicks higher, and the car will go like way faster right out the gate. Change the aerodynamics if you need to, just in terms of the aero balancing and all that stuff. And suddenly it goes from, this is terrible, to you're turning laps at 230 miles an hour at Indy in the 95 cars, which actually is kind of surprisingly fun. Because you are kind of set up in a situation where you really can't go flat out with any sort of fuel in the car. So you kind of have to back off, you have to downshift going into the corners, but then you have to kind of trim into it and feather into it a little bit to keep the car balanced. Because while yes, you can get the car to over-rotate and just it'll sit there for days and it won't be a problem, you'll never spin the thing out. It is slow, you don't want to scrub the tires because that will kill your speed, and that's good to see. So it does kind of really become a fun little thing, but there is the fact that you know that you can't spin the car. It's literally impossible, even though you're running the car in a way that is just absolutely just asinine. I mean, if an Indy car actually worked like this in the 90s, in the early 2000s, the split would have never happened because the sprint car guys would have been dominating the ovals, and it wouldn't even have been close. Next thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the AI. The AI is just not up to snuff to make this experience work. Oval racing and racing sims and video games is just one of those things where it's the bare minimum style of circuit racing. It will expose every flaw, every weakness with the AI. If it doesn't work, it's not going to work. You can mask some things on road courses that will never become an issue, but those behaviors become highlighted once you go on an oval. Automobilista 2 has had several major AI issues. For example, the fact that the AI gets into its scripting that it becomes hellbent on passing you one way or the other at times. It's very clear to me that sometimes there are these moments where a switch gets flicked in their programming, in their scripting, and all of a sudden they don't care about the laws of physics. They don't care about any sort of reasonable racing line. They will just go ahead and pass you. You'll see guys just dive bombing in on the grass at turn 1 at Indianapolis. That doesn't make any sort of sense, but they're that determined to pass you. And that just breaks the experience. You can get away with it a little bit on a road course, but on an oval, in this type of scenario, it doesn't work out. It just looks positively ridiculous. It is positively asinine. And then there's also the fact that the AI has a tendency, even still to this day in Automobilista 2, because this has long been a problem, of running in clumps, running in packs, and they're all stuck together. And therefore, it actually makes things worse because the AI is now trying to go 2 or 3 wide through the corners at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which is absolutely positively ridiculous and would not be done with this type of configuration at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You know, this is the current version. There is no apron. The only time they're really going 2 wide is very last moments, if absolute need be, or if someone is essentially yielding the corner and kind of getting back in line. It's because of the geometry of the corner. But they don't care. They don't need to care. So you end up with this thing where the racing doesn't look right, the AI is just constantly all over the place. Then they're also checking up, their pace is very inconsistent. You add in the fact that at the start of a stint, they're really stupidly fast, but then about halfway through, they become absolute babies out there, and they are so incredibly slow that you have no choice but either cater your AI difficulty to the first half, or get smoked, or alternatively cater it to the second half and get smoked and basically give them an advantage at the front half of the race, saying, oh yeah, you're going to go ahead and beat me, but I'm going to go ahead and run laps that are ludicrous speeds compared to you because this is fun. Honestly, the oval racing experience within Automobilista 2 is one of those things where it is, at best, in my opinion, a diversion or something that you're going to have to do in a league racing environment. Because as it is now, as it is with this DLC pack currently, I don't understand the appeal. I don't see the appeal, even though I desperately, clearly want this to be good. The good news I will also say, and to the game's credit to a degree, dirty air is awesome in this game. It sounds like a very weird thing to compliment, but I do like the feel of when you're following another car. You get understeer, you get oversteer. It is something that you have to be mindful of, and I think it is actually done better here in this game than any other game that you're going to play on your home PC, because, you know, aerodynamic simulation isn't really a thing within these racing games to any complex degree, just because it is so complicated and complex. But I think that this game actually has done a pretty reasonable job of giving you a feel of what it must be like. Being in the middle of the pack sucks. Overall, I really don't have a lot of positive things to say about the oval racing experience in Automobilista 2 by way of the Racing USA DLC. This is kind of one of those things where it really strikes me as a little bit odd that so much of the DLC is about the oval side of things and bringing that in when it's just not a very good experience at all, and is definitely not one of the things that Automobilista 2 does the best. You know, this is definitely one of the weaker experiences within Automobilista 2, so I just say it's probably not worth taking a look at unless you happen to be someone like me who likes 1990s, early 2000s North American open wheel racing and the whole thing. But even then, it's At least for me, it's going to be one of those things where, okay, I've played it, that was interesting. Barring any substantial major updates, though, I probably won't be coming back to it. So, that's that. That's my thoughts on the Racing USA DLC for Automobilista 2, the Oval Racing Experience. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Alright, bye.